welcome back to the Fix Boy. Now here with Ari, and we have an orange doctor in the building. But before we get to that, I have to say big ups to our sponsors, Pure Water. All right, the official water sponsor of the Fix. I'm a water there.
You make it drop.
Jaja.
Okay, here, use mine.
Oh yeah, there we go. Right? So Pure Water is your smart choice to stay hydrated and refreshed during all your activities. Shout out to Pure Water. We'll also have to say shout out to Janet's Holistics. All right, they're located at 1591 Estate Road, 7 North Lauderdale, Florida. All right, so if you're interested in the very best in beauty, cosmetic, and personal care, plant-based skincare, dark spot solutions, eczema treatment, you name it, you hit up Janet's Holistics. I remember people can use the code The Fix to get 50% off all purchases. That's promo code The Fix to get 15% off all purchases. The link is in the description of every video that we post. All right, you don't know, so you can hit up janetsholistics.com as well. I think I that, yeah?
Yeah.
That's okay, there we go. So people have an orange doctor in the building. All right, medical doctor, by the way.
Actual
And
legit.
actual
medical.
legit doctor and the PNP spokesman on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes in the building. There we go.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming, sir.
You know, I try to separate the orange and the doctor part completely.
Really?
Yeah, man, you have to.
Like in what way? Like and why?
Nah, I mean, what? I have patients from both sides of the political divide, and as a matter of fact, the GLP ones very supportive, although they wish I would have just focused on the practice itself, you know. But you have to keep that out of it, because at the end of the day, you know, when you're going theater and operate on somebody, it's not green blood or orange blood.
That's
It's
true.
Red.
red.
Yeah.
It's like them would have ever like entertain, or you'd ever entertain like political discussion while, you know, they're treat them.
Always, man.
Really?
Especially those who are involved in politics.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. 5 minutes talking about their problems, 25 minutes talking about politics and all of that. So it's... And a lot of times, you know, even in my waiting room, when you look, you see some PNP people, some JLP people, they buck up and loud debates taking place there.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
because,
that's interesting.
that's-
And I mean, that should even.
Because I get a lot of high profile clients
Yeah.
like that, you know,
Yeah.
coming in, and they always know each other. And
Yeah, because I mean, it based separate and apart from your political persuasion, like you are a very affluent doctor, and I mean,
affluent. I wouldn't say affluent.
What you
at
say?
all,
Sought after.
I probably would have been affluent if I never went into politics.
Wow.
Before, that's what I said. Before it's
I would
separate
say
from
accomplished,
politics.
because I think I've done pretty well in my field. I can say that I'm probably in terms of numbers one of the top bariatric surgeons in Jamaica and maybe the Caribbean.
Yeah, because I'm laughing and I'm saying, but aren't you like the ambassador for lifespan? And
Was
before.
again, like
I
I
like you're
said,
the
politics.
first. Yes.
Politics just
Oh, is it
take away
because
everything.
you enter into the political arena?
Yeah,
then?
you don't want somebody calling it orange water. Like, just saying, you know.
True.
Right.
So you realize that you've lost. Well, I wouldn't. I mean, would you consider it a loss? But because of your entrance into this whole political space, that you've lost many. Even you say maybe you've lost clients. I've seen that where you've lost business opportunity with the sponsorship with the water company. So it's just like, have you seen where your life has changed drastically with the coming into the space?
Yeah, definitely. I've lost contracts. A lot of them were politically motivated, but then you just have to, like, persons who you're doing business with, they would say, hey, you know, I got a call, and it's like, we can't do any more business with you.
Oh wow, it's
And
that
it's
serious.
like, it's not me up front, it's my company and all of that. But they're like, no, they just advise us to go with somebody else. I was like, all right, I respect that. You know, at the end of the day, it's your business, money has to be made. I've had like hold-ups in business ventures. I had to pull myself out of a business relationship completely and had applications resubmitted.
Wow.
Just took away myself completely from it, you know, gave up the thing, because I thought that what it was we were doing was more impactful for Jamaicans, and if I stepped away and had no financial benefit from it and it would go through, then so be it. But yeah, the biggest one though really is that I've had to step back from this hospital in Portmore that we were doing from like 2015. It's gonna be open this year, and the whole idea was that I would be putting in, I would basically be the man to run it.
Okay.
But then I doubt that's gonna happen if we win the general elections, because then I would be wearing a different hat altogether. I don't know what's gonna happen to the clinical practice.
Okay, because would it fall under the Windsor Wellness brand, or is
Different,
different,
completely different.
Okay.
Partnership. Yeah.
So it's a case where is a new hospital is being built, and they were asking you to be the head doctor and I
was
chief administrator. In a
part of
sense?
the whole group that was doing it,
Okay.
and but then because of politics, I just stepped away. So it was a very difficult decision. It's almost like, boy, you're gonna continue down a path, and you're putting all of the legwork already, and it's just about time to reap the rewards. I guess financially, then I could have been affluent later on and all of that. But then the question was,
I mean, the next question then is it regret? Is it
sometimes?
regret? Yeah,
sometimes, especially sometimes, no man, it's politics that make you spend some serious money, and you just see it just going and going and going, and I realized that it is a sacrifice. I mean, people stay in it until it look like they're gonna come out of parliament in a coffin based on the age, and I don't know what the benefits are. I haven't seen it.
A pretty coffin, I guess.
Huh?
A pretty coffin, maybe.
Well, I don't know, but to me it's a lot of time away from your family, time away if you're somebody who your business making money requires you to be there.
Yeah.
It's you lose time with your patients in my case. But there are I wouldn't say complete regrets. I like it. I like the representational politics. I like the number of low-hanging fruits, I say, in communities in Southeast St. Catherine that can be fixed immediately. Like some people want a road fix, but then there's like money is floating around, but it's not my responsibility. Go let somebody else sort it out, and then the representatives, they're like, boy, this has to change when it comes in, but there are a lot of ways you can help people, and that's what I'm looking forward to more than anything else. I just feel like I've had some opportunities in life where a lot has been given to me, and I just always try to pay it back. And then with that is like more come back to me, more abundance come back to me. And it's just a cycle. So whichever position I'm in, I always just try to do my best.
Well, I guess that answers the why, but how did you get into politics?
Boy, if I tell you it's a calling, well, I did say it's a calling, and one of my family members, so I'm sure that doesn't make it go to voicemail.
Good advice.
But it was always a bug that was there. I never really looked at myself as a politician person. I had some little, dalliances, the guild at UA. But then I was just hyper focused on other stuff. But then it just kept calling. I mean, I had offers from both political parties, but in the end, an offer came, and there's like, go find a seat, and we'll see how we can, if we form government, we'll need your assistance with healthcare. I was looking at, maybe a junior minister or so, to see if I could be in the room when the decisions are being made, because a lot of times it's the policy decisions that make a big difference, whether or not you waste money doing some renovations, or you buy a vital piece of equipment that will save lives. Like a lot of the decision makers, they don't understand the significance of some of the things that the clinical workers are asking for. I've been in meetings and people are saying, we're paying out too much in overtime, and you have to be sitting there explaining to them why you have to pay the overtime, because they don't have any staff. And people are going to wait longer, and people are going to suffer and die if you don't have staff. So I thought that if I had an opportunity to be in the room, then that would help. But then, going into representational politics and being in the communities, I realized that I like that even more, and I like that interacting with people, hearing their problems, hearing their solutions.
Oh, so your constituents provide
a lot of bright people out there, and because of how, like I said, they're not in the rooms where the decisions are being made. People discount their street smart, over the book smart and the studies and all of that stuff. But real world experience, they'll tell you how something can work, and looking forward to implementing their ideas.
So
Dr. Dawes,
with
hold
that
on. Sorry, because you just said something that a lot of change comes from the policy level, but isn't it, I guess, easier said than done when you're outside of it, outside of the political landscape even overall. Like, it's like, yes, that needs to be fixed. But as you said, like the overtime, many people are saying, well, overtime, you gave an example of paying too much in overtime, but then the ripple effect of if you cut that overtime cost, there'll be low staff turnout to take care of the patients. So it's like, is it that you're talking from on the outside and not necessarily understanding that there are several other things, especially from or independence, that needs to be fixed and that needs to be upgraded. Like if that's also a concern, what you think about from the outside.
And that's a good question, because I've been in the public sector at several levels, from a junior doctor to I've been the senior medical officer in charge of Savlamar Hospital. I've been on the board of the Western Region Health Authority, and I've seen where the decisions are being made. And a lot of times you realize that it's the broken system, like you're saying. The British set up the bureaucracy that can cause the rulers in England to rule an empire that span the entire globe, where the sun never set. And it's the same level of bureaucracy you see in India and Kenya and Jamaica. And I think right now, having identified those issues, I think now is where we go in with the political will to change a lot of it, to make it that the culture is more about the results rather than the process. Because then when you talk to some people, me not lose my pension over this, or something sits on somebody's desk and they go on vacation and nothing can happen at all until they come back from vacation, and somebody else can sign off on it, but they're afraid. So you want to streamline things a lot more. And it's having worked at different levels, and the thing is, I understand. Well, I don't have all the answers, but I know how much I don't know. And then I can take it from there. The worst thing is when you don't know how much you don't know, and you feel like you're coming in and you're imposing solutions that just don't make any sense.
Because when you talk about, I've always said it is like most of the issues that happen as you talk about bureaucracy, but most people want to understand is like the technocrats, like is the staff that don't change or is not affected by the political whims of the country, that are really the people that make the decision. They're the ones that if they go on vacation and they can't sign off, nothing is done. So like how can that be changed? How is there something that the opposition, if they do form the government, that they can change that, especially that policy level? I think that's a major.
That's going to be a problem. But that part of it is implementation. The conceptualization and the priorities, that is the cabinet level. So if we decide that, all right, and this is the road that we're going to focus on primary care, so that when you develop primary care, you find everybody who has diabetes, pre-diabetes, hypertension, pre-hypertension, and you start treat them, you intervene at a level where, all right, fine, not just nutrition, but you're testing them regularly, making sure that there's medication available, affordable medication, you're not going to run out. They have access to care. Because you can have care that's available but inaccessible because of how far people can't find taxi fare to come to the clinics and so on. And if you spend the bulk of the money on primary care, and stop people from getting sick where they go to hospitals, is a massive difference. Now compare that, but the unfortunate thing is that you won't see all of that materializing before the next election is due. So it's easier to go cut a ribbon on a refurbished clinic or a refurbished hospital waiting room and people are still there. Still getting your 7,000 strokes per year, and you're getting poor outcomes because you don't have any CAT scan.
But
It's
Dr.
a
Dawes, I have to
ministerial
push
pen.
Yeah, I have to push against that though.
But hold on,
Yeah.
a ministerial pen can say, hey, we're going to buy CT scans and put them in every parish, right? Within first 100 days, we can say Bustamante Hospital is going to get a CT scan, and it happens. Because the money is going to be found, and it's going to be allocated, and it is going to be a priority. So you have ministerial priorities that you can use to impact. And like I said, there's just a ton of low-hanging fruit
Yeah. And
that you can fix.
Right. So that's what I
The
wanted
harder
to push.
part is fixing the bureaucracy.
Right. Because I wanted to even go that because isn't it fair to say that Dr. Tufton, I was going to say Minister Dr. Tufton, he recognized that with the Jamaica Moves campaign, he started a preventative care where, he realized that, if Jamaica Move, cut down on the sugar, all the things that cause these, what's the term again? What do they call them?
What is that? Chronic non-communicable diseases?
Yes, non-communicable diseases, right? Like these are this ministerial national campaign that we're launching with, as you said, with Jamaica Moves and all and his campaign of diabetes, cutting out the sugar, mental health, even to like all these things, like these are preventative care, and this is something that's happening from a ministerial position though. So isn't it fair to say that Dr. Tufton recognizes these low-hanging fruit and he's implementing?
Everybody recognize, but it's how you choose to address it.
Okay.
And that's the big problem I have. I was a part of his taking responsibility tour. I was there advising people, and I was working closely with him with respect to that. But I had a fundamental problem with the approach. It was all marketing. That's not how you get behavioral change.
Okay.
Now, as a bariatric surgeon, weight loss surgeon,
right,
I get a lot of patients who are frustrated trying to lose weight. And the first thing that they do is cut out sweet drinks. But then they overcompensate, and the first thing you have to do is find out where the calories coming from. They need to drink more water, drink more pure water, and cut out some of the sodas. But you have to understand first what is driving the chronic disease epidemic. And a lot of people don't know where they're getting their calories from. I have patients who are snacking on how much peanut and cashew a day. They eat more salads. But then when you look on the amount of dressing and cheese and bacon bits and croutons, or people might be eating healthy and then them just mash up some bread and butter in the night when they go home. We're eating a whole lot of fast food, junk food, and so on. So even if you're going to go, and one of the proposals they were going after was really sugar tax. I mean, that's, whereas we always want to discourage sugary beverages, I have a ton of people who are struggling to lose weight, and they cut out sugar long time. But
and
they have the salt,
the
and they still have the salt issue.
Wow.
There are other things. So, and then the other thing that was fundamentally flawed with Jamaica Moves is that exercise is only a plus. You lose weight in the supermarket, the market, and the kitchen. You cannot outrun a bad diet. So when you have a road show and you go somewhere, it looks very good for the cameras, everybody jumping around and everybody leave, yeah man, we're going to exercise. But then what gym membership costs? Do you have a well-secured running track? We don't have any green spaces in Portmore. One of the things you want to prioritize is to get exercise equipment in the parks, like they have in South America and Cuba. We want to have running trails and those things well lit. Make sure that people can go out of the house and exercise. But you have to emphasize nutrition. If I were supposed to do it, it would be a Jamaica Moves and Jamaica Eats, where you teach people how to eat healthily. What is a serving size? One tin of bully beef, you look on the thing and it's always 200 calories. But that little tiny tin has 3 servings. So it's like 700 calories.
Even this aspect of informing people about healthy eating, I found was very lacking in the messaging during COVID.
Yeah, man.
I
A
found it
lot
very
of
lacking.
COVID weight was put on. Jamaicans put on thousands of pounds during
But even
COVID.
what to eat in order to combat getting COVID and making sure immune system is up to par.
Exactly.
I thought that the messaging was lacking there.
I
personally.
disagree
Overall,
with
it
that
was-
because I've seen, as you say, like the calories, what the sugar, like you say is more marketing, but I've seen where the promotional material was how to,
But
like
that's
the
not how you get
eating,
lifestyle
but-
change.
Right.
So when I talk to my patients, and I do this on a case-by-case basis, when they're sitting in front of me, the first question I ask, whether they come for lipo, whether they come for, weight loss, whatever it is. I said, whatever you're doing, you're going to lose weight here. How are you going to maintain? And if you feel like you're coming in here and, you're just going for a quick fix, then you're going to fail. And I've seen
No pun
patients
intended.
fail. I've seen patients after surgery lose 140 pounds and put on back 145 pounds.
What?
And they still can't eat much.
But isn't that good for you
What?
and your business? Come
I
again.
don't want repeat customers. I want you to go out and tell somebody.
Because that would kind of indicate
Thank
say
you,
why
come
you don't
again.
even work like
It don't work.
Yeah.
But food addiction is a serious thing. And it's something that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
But food is the most readily available drug because sugar, we talk about receptors in your brain. You have feel-good receptors, the endorphins. When you bite into that candy
Lovely,
bar
nice
or chocolate or something, and then this is something particularly of interest to women. When you're around the time of your period, you tend to make more emotional decisions with respect to food, so you snack more.
Yeah.
And all of these things are why you have a 30% obesity rate for women and a 25% obesity rate, rate for obesity.
Nara is always cussing me because I'm like, I just need like a Pepsi, it's my medicine. You feel like a sadie, she just drink a little Pepsi.
And it gives you a sugar rush.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
feel
literally
that.
a rush because of the endorphins. So when
You're a
you're
child.
stressed out, you tend to have more comfort foods that are going to release the endorphins, feel-good hormones, and it soothes you.
Yeah.
So stress, comfort, all of that.
Dr. Das, may I ask you though, as somebody with years of experience within the medical field, as a doctor, what do you think is the current, what are your thoughts on current state of of medical, of the healthcare right now? I don't know of healthcare right now in Jamaica, especially in our rural areas.
All right. We have a serious problem with access to healthcare. And we have a problem with, the services have not really grown. And at the same time, the demands are greater because we have a population that is aging. If you look on the population pyramid, it's supposed to literally look like a pyramid with most of the young people at the bottom and then less and less as you go older. Jamaicans, right now, we have a bulge in the middle because we are living longer. We have gotten rid of the infectious diseases that kill you off in your 50s. So we are seeing a lot more elderly patients. We're seeing a lot more obese patients that come with all of the medical issues. And not just that, we're seeing younger patients with more obesity and getting more of these chronic diseases earlier. Throw cancers into that now, where younger and younger people are getting cancer.
Yeah.
And we don't know why.
Yeah.
It's a worldwide phenomenon. And we are seeing, and I mean, the obvious thing is the food. But
Them say the job too.
Huh?
Them
Could
say
be the
the
stress, it could be anything. The number one risk factor.
no, the JAB.
Or the
Shut up.
I was saying that people.
No, it was rising before.
Okay.
Before all of that. We don't know. It could be the food, it could be the environmental tax, stuff, water, sitting in traffic and you
Everything you try to kill.
Yeah,
all
I mean,
that,
it's just like with more GMO foods that we
everything,
get.
right? So when you look at all of that, more sick people with conditions that you can't just treat them with antibiotics and send them home. Once you become a chronic disease patient, you're always a chronic disease patient.
Wow.
Even if you control it, you have to be followed up and so on. So the burden on the clinics, the burden on the hospitals have shot up significantly. And then you have the trauma. Even though our crime rate is down, we have more cars on the road, more motorcycles. And motorcycles is a orthopedic surgeon's nightmare in terms of the complexity of the fractures because nobody is cruising, they're speeding without helmets. And sometimes when I was down south, you would have two bikes colliding in the middle of the road, and when the two bikes collide, all 6 people coming to hospital off the two bikes. So it's bike taxi.
Okay, collateral.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, how many pillion?
So you're gonna have a stress on the the creaking health sector. And on top of that, over years, we have not had significant investment. So when you put all of that together now, you're finding out that whether or not, and this is a non-political statement, this is just the state of affairs, it was inevitable that our healthcare sector would have reached a stage where it is creaking under pressure, and if we don't make some radical decisions, it's going to collapse.
Would you describe it as a crisis?
It is a crisis, but you have hot spots. So sometimes you have some crisis. Like the other day with KPH, no matter what anybody tell you, that was a crisis. Because your operating theater shut down, you shut down all of the ICUs, you move the clinic and scale down again. So you have a hospital where you're not operating.
Yeah.
And you're seeing only dire emergencies. Dire emergency mean you're dying. So if your hernia is out and it's stuck, we're not going to take it to theater until you start a fever and you start a belly pain, which means that it ruptured.
Yeah.
And that is when you go. If you have an appendix, we give some antibiotics and wait. It's not a dire emergency. So those are the things that were taking place.
Oh my God.
And then when they say that they're outsourcing to other hospitals, they might try to get 6 patients done at Bustamante but by the time they find nurse to transport them and they go on the turnover time, you probably get about 3 out of the 6 done. So what we have is a backup of cancer patients, and then on top of that now, the CT scans keep breaking down, and then they used to outsource them, but they stopped paying for them. So if you can't find the money for the CT scan, you're not getting your surgery, which means that people are sitting around with cancers growing, and they can't get into the clinic to say, all right, the doctors can make a decision now. So by any measure, that is a crisis, and it's not going to be resolved until KPH is fully operational again. They put out a release to say that this week it's going to be operational. I didn't even bother saying anything because I know it was impossible. Because they sent a whole bunch of people down there trying to show me up. And then they're going to try and tell the doctors, go back in there because they paint up the place, start operating without doing any residual testing.
Because it's the mold, right?
Madness.
Because there was the mold issue.
Hey, on the flip side of things, as you just mentioned, like the staff, I know doctors. I grew up in a house with nurse and my family are doctor. And you always hear them complaining about conditions at the hospital and even staffing issues. What you feel more can be done to improve these conditions? I hear constant complaints about it, especially the young doctor them now, and seeing that nurses are leaving, because of these things. Like what we can do for fix things. No point.
Here's the problem with the staffing now. So you see, in my time where you had, say, 2 doctors doing the work of 4 doctors, right? When you get when you get another doctor, you can't expect that the 3 doctors now going to be doing the job of 6 doctors. And that is the case. You put in more staff,
Unless
you make it a
Mexican.
little bit better. But you're not going. It's not an exponential increase if you increase staffing by 50%.
Yeah.
And then what's happening is that you have less experienced doctors and nurses running the day-to-day operations, because all of the senior nurses, as soon as they finish, even when they go for courses and they get the certification, the recruiters are out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're
Like, our issue is brain drain. Like,
brain drain
many
is
of
a
our-
massive problem.
Yeah.
There are some creative ideas, and I can share one here because I think my solutions are non-partisan. I don't care if anybody take it and run with it. I think that if we raise up the price for training, the cost of training, what? So you want to do nursing, rather than it costing 100,000, let it cost $1 million, right? Wait, no. But then you give a scholarship, and so you don't pay anything at all. Okay. But if a recruiter wants to buy you out,
they have to pay.
They have to pay the 4 years of that $1 million. So when we, the government, get that back now, we can use that to subsidize the training of 10 more nurses.
Okay.
So the recruiters, they're not paying out the little 400,000 and gone with somebody who the country has invested in from basic school right up. They're paying. They're helping to subsidize training. Yeah. And the first world has to start paying because they're just cannibalizing the third world or the developing world of the the best and brightest. And Jamaica has one of the highest rates of brain drain in the world.
Yeah.
The other thing we have to start doing is to incentivize people to stay more through housing, car benefits and so on. That's a Jamaican dream. Everybody wants a house and a car. So maybe we should start looking at some of those ways to get people to stay. And I think if we get enough people staying, it'll make things easier, to train and upgrade, and then that will overall lift the quality of healthcare.
Yeah.
But we have to face, reality head on, and and pre-say the nurses are leaving. So what is it that we can do for make sure so the healthcare system continues to function effectively while this is all going on?
Yeah, we can't stop the outflow, so we have to increase inflow. We have to find a way, and there are some. And
there's patients still there that still need care.
Still need care. So we have to find a way to
Don't
increase the training.
I tell you, just don't sick. Just don't sick, because things are really good.
I found dirt.
That's
and
crazy.
dirt.
Yeah, anything you have right now, walk it off.
Drink some tea. Crazy. But yeah, serious solutions.
Sorry.
Serious solutions.
She got you off, yeah. There.
Sorry.
Serious solutions. We have to increase the input, which is training.
Yes,
So we have to have more training spaces. And what that means is that it may mean that you subsidize training. It may mean that you upgrade more hospitals so that they can become training centers. They can start taking more interns and student nurses and so on. At SAV, when I was there, that was part of the upgrade. But then when I left, I think something happened and they pulled back. So you would have had less persons being trained there at that time. But we have to always step forward. A lot of times we make one step forward, two step backwards, and policy decisions change after an election, and so you're going to this cycle. So a lot of things that were started in by Fenton Ferguson, they were stopped. And some of the things that have been going on now, naturally we're going to stop because we're going to reprioritize having recognized the issues, but how we address the issues. For example, the chronic diseases, rather than going out there on road shows and billboards, we want to put access for training and for testing and identification of the chronic diseases, as well as shift from a Jamaica moves to a Jamaica eats with nutritional training.
Dr. Dawes not fair, because I remember, grow what you eat and eat what you grow. And well, he was under the agriculture sector, the agriculture minister at that time. Cassava and them something there. So, I mean, come on. It balance. It balance. Fairness to Dr. Tufton, it balance.
What was that gonna say? That slogan, they kind of sound counter, productive.
What?
Jamaica eats versus Jamaica moves. You know what I mean? Like, because the problem with some of the people, they eat
With
too much.
Yes. No, we need to eat right.
But I do know, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's a concept.
The slogan need more work.
See, marketing.
Not knowledge say them having
Something to do
sweets.
with it. But yeah, I mean, they eat what you grow thing from Michael Manley.
Okay.
That's where it's coming from. The PNP in the 1970s
yes,
when
yes.
we're looking at self-reliance. I mean, when you look at the foods that we have, the bananas, the sweet potatoes, and cassava and those things. Breadfruit is a superfood,
Is it?
Yeah, man.
What makes it a superfood?
It has a lot of nutrients. It has a lot of fiber.
When it roasted,
versus
right? Roasted, right?
roast or fry, but the fry you try stay away from that.
No,
but
I prefer roasted.
if I tell straight roast, then some people not going to really.
Yeah.
Ching the tail,
Yeah,
roast
roast
and
off.
too much. You know what I mean? When you speak to a lot of people from the diaspora, would want far back a yard. One of the things that seems to be a stickler for them is the healthcare system. They're afraid that, like, comparison to where they're at now, coming back here, the healthcare won't be the same. What we can do for rebuild like that trust there in the healthcare system, not only with the public, but even with the diaspora, that, people who probably want to come back, but they must say healthcare kind of sketchy.
And question though, and adding to that, but America isn't that great because to even get treated costs an arm and a leg there. Like literally to see the doctor, if you use a pill, if you take a pill, pop a pill, you have to pay $200 fee US. So I mean, is our comparatively, how bad is it to like say a developed nation like America?
All right, so when you look at healthcare systems, the best way you can look at it, you go to a barber and say you can get a haircut and pick 2 out of 3. It can be cheap, it can be good, and it can be fast. You can only pick 2. So if you want it quick and good, you can't get it cheap. If you want it fast and cheap, it's not going to be good. Right? So American system, it's quick and it's good. And it's expensive. And what
it's
has
pretty
driven
too.
up there? Huh?
It's pretty like the hospital them over there.
Yeah,
they're
man.
very pretty
But there's
comparatively speaking.
There's a lot of money, and boy, I hope this don't come back to that. But we have a lot of hustling in the American healthcare system too. Even the states do some hustling with Medicare and all of those things.
So
But
you
once
get
you have
wiped out.
insurance coverage, it started with the HMOs in the 70s under Nixon. The price, that the cost for delivering a service just shot up because they realized that insurance companies would be paying for whatever it is. So, all right, that pill, the actual cost of the pill is 50 cents. But then it's a boy, if you build the insurance company, they'll pay $150. The copay is $50. We can't just go, forget about the copay. And then if somebody can't pay it, then we send a bailiff after them. But if they can't, then it's not because they only will lose 50 cents. So that has been the model. And then it has been a drive towards technological innovation. So like the robots in surgery, they use a lot of robots in surgery, but if you're a decent laparoscopic surgeon, you can do a lot of what the robots are doing at a fraction of the cost. The disposables for the robots is 30,000 US alone. So and then the pretty buildings, you have to pay for them. And all right, look at say some of the drugs. Some drugs that cost $1,000 in the US. The countries where they are manufactured and distributed is like $200. So everybody's trying to say that they're going to get their research and development money out of the US again because it's just the world's biggest economy. And then, unfortunately, some of that trickles down to we are importing a lot of the stuff from the US and there's like a price point that we have to end up pay for. So we can't, our GDP is not close to the US. I think the US government spends about 17,000 US per person. On health, GDP, yeah.
Wow.
We spend about 5,000. 5,000.
So in a sense, if you guys form the next government, you're not gonna make healthcare free.
So healthcare now is quote unquote free, but the truth is that you get free healthcare, but if you need a CAT scan, you have to find the $25,000 to go do it. If your leg is broken, you have to go find the money for the plate and screw and nails, or else you're going to be laying up in hospital for 6 months. You're going to get pneumonia, clots in the leg, and that's why a lot of people die. Bad food.
Yeah.
So you get what you pay for. You get nothing.
So you want to reintroduce.
No. Ultimately, what we need is a national health insurance scheme. So the NHF, which is 25 years old this year, when that was conceptualized under the PJ Patterson government, it was supposed to be the first step towards a national health insurance scheme. And they started off with providing drugs for the elderly and then later on expanded it for other conditions and so on. It's funded through the sin tax. People are, drinking less, smoking less, and so on. So you have to look at the viability of that. But, I think we ought to pay into a plan, and then the government subsidizes those who can't pay at all. You can identify them through PATH and near PATH. Because some people are, they can't make it a PATH program because they have something as simple as a flush toilet in the house. But then they can't afford things.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why me and you can't pay something a month into a health insurance plan and you choose how much coverage you want, who you want covered, and so on. So when you come to a hospital, every patient now becomes a private patient, and you will have the resources there.
Fair. Fair.
Ultimately, that is where we want to head to.
Okay.
You know? But we just have to make sure that we get it right, because if you don't get it right, and then you look at what you cover, you're going to bankrupt the system, because then the claims that are going to come in won't match the contributions. And then you're going to have the same thing that happen in the US, where doctors are going to inflate the prices, the drug companies are going to inflate the prices. It's just like every time NHT raise the loan limit, the houses go up by the same amount. You know, that's what happens if you don't monitor health insurance properly. And that's what has killed the US. But to go back to your thing with the Americans,
I mean, literally
the
kill the
diaspora,
CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and see how people celebrating it. But the diaspora, their main concerns are the emergency services. What happens if you're in an accident? What happens if you have a stroke or a heart attack or something like that? We are immediately looking at something. Jamaica needs a stroke center. You can't have 7,000 strokes per year. You can't have a third of the population hypertensive and at risk, and you don't have a proper stroke center. A stroke, we have to rename that from just like how you have a heart attack. It's a brain attack, which literally means that just like how you can treat a heart attack by getting out the clots and so on, you can't treat a stroke effectively like that. We just have to have a proper emergency system where the ambulance can pick you up wherever you are, get you to a hospital, stabilize you, get you to a specialized center. You have all of the scans, you have the specialists and so on. And we can do it.
Dr. Dawes, I've always wondered how can private sector really and truly contribute to something like this? You know, why is it always the government main, or is it sole responsibility? How can private sector contribute and buy into this? Like even with, you know, facilitating more ambulances, like even contributing to just reservicing or refurbishing a hospital wing. Like, is that something that...
Well, you know, you have me giving away all of the plans before the election. But when I went to Israel several years ago, I was doing a course and did a little tour after. But there were ambulances driving around Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, all over the place. And they had, like, you know, with courtesy or of the whatever family or this foundation, that foundation. US money people would basically adopt ambulances. And I'm thinking that something like that can happen. Why can't corporate Jamaicans or well-thinking Jamaicans adopt ambulances? And all you would have to do is just take care of the service package for a year, and we give you a little logo.
Would they get tax break?
Yeah, how much them think they would have cost?
It's marketing.
And tax breaks?
You have your logo on an ambulance, and everybody's going to see the goodwill that, hey, you are helping Jamaicans by servicing this vehicle or buying the vehicle.
Separate and apart from that,
it depends on what you want to put.
Break?
You're pushing it, man.
Are we though?
Goodwill is good enough, but you can't get
tax break.
You can't get tax break. However it is to be structured. The point is, and this is something that, you know, we're working on, how it will work. But we think that you can adopt ambulances. And, you know, diaspora, anybody, adopt an ambulance. And with that, you can expand the fleet of ambulance, because what's killing us is maintenance.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody commit, all right, you know, $1 million a year to maintain an ambulance, you get your logo on it and whatever tax break, whatever it is, then you have another ambulance you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
And once you have the ambulances and then you start training your paramedics and so on, you move to the next
Because then
step.
that's even now like a new job.
Exactly.
Right,
so now so a lot of the practical nurses now who are out of a job, you retrain them so that they become EMTs.
Yeah.
So you build out an entire ambulance service, and then the next layer to that now is once you get to the hospital, you have to make sure you have diagnostics. So that's where your CT, X-ray, and all of that is on. And one of the things we want to do is to set up urgent care centers in some of the clinics. So you would have like Santa Cruz Health Center, which is a center of excellence. You know, just for example, they were telling people to go there instead of coming to the hospital and overcrowding. But the problem is that you're going to sit down whole day at the clinic and they said, all right, do these blood tests, do these x-rays, and where do I go, doc? Go to the hospital. So you go to the hospital and wait again. No, that's inefficient. And anybody was like, it don't make any sense I come here if you're going to send me to the hospital to wait again.
Yeah.
But what if you could build urgent care centers with point of care testing for all of your blood tests, so that you come in with a diabetic coma, you start the insulin, but you can get your kidney function test to see if you need hospital admission, or we can give you some fluids, monitor the results, and then send you home by tomorrow morning. About 80% of the admissions to the A&E department do not require admissions to the ward. So when we talk about getting access, you're bringing access to the healthcare to the communities now through these urgent care centers. And with the proper diagnostics, and technology has gone by leaps and bounds. I can draw a little bit of blood from you, and within a few minutes I give you back the result without having that huge lab setup. I have that at my office. A lot of doctors have that. Point of care testing is where the world is going right now. And we can bring that to, wherever outlying communities. What you have done is given those people access to proper health care.
So before we let you go, we have to ask you about two things, because you've been in the news lately, right?
Oh boy, I'm telling me some hard questions.
Yeah, you've been in the news lately. One, right, you've been leading the charge in the demand for, explanation for the procurement procedure that the government did to get a surgical drill for about 31 million. Dollars. So what is happening there so far? Like, as I say, you've been leading the charge. You getting the answers?
No, well, what the answer that came out was that, they had bids for 50 million and bids for 12 million. But let me tell you how procurement is corrupt in Jamaica. And I'm not speaking particularly about this case now. 3 of us can want a contract. I tell you bid 100, you bid 50, and I bid 20, right? And the bid that I put in for 20 can't work, but then 100 is too much. So you get a $50 million contract for something that can be done for 20 million. I have again, I'm not saying that's what happened, but I have a serious issue with a drill that we can find online. Same model number, same parts, everything, accessories, for $5 million, and you're spending $31 million for it.
The article did say
the same thing.
Same thing.
It said it's not just the drill alone.
The accessories. That's why I said the accessories. It's the same thing.
And the maintenance of it.
$4 million of maintenance. Take out the maintenance. You're going back down to 27 million.
Okay.
Right? And then this argument now that is the doctors choose that. If you were in country and your grandmother send you out to buy one big jar of oil and give you $5,000, and it's supposed to cost you $400, and you come back and say no more change, no left,
you get beaten.
And you cannot tell your grandmother says you want the big jill rather than a half jill. So that's why it costs so much. It's madness.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So absolute madness.
How you got that information to? Is it
because people fed up.
So somebody...
You know what? Look here. They use $24 million to refurbish 4 theaters at KPH. And you mean to tell me, say, a drill that can only work in one of those theaters at a time costs $31 million?
So is a doctor that confidentially
I'm not telling you it's a doctor.
Or whoever confidentially shared the information with you. Because the stickler was this one drill for $31 million.
Wait, it gets worse. They bought more drills.
That's good. No?
For $31 million?
Each?
Yes, that's what we want to find out.
So what do you think is going on?
Brethren, them are so people like, whoa, nowadays.
I'm here tough chat online. Nobody will really assume nobody.
You want me to state my official position?
Yeah.
It look away. It sound away.
That's your official
position.
All right. So what
fair.
actions will the opposition take if we don't receive like a good explanation?
Yeah. Like, what is it that you guys want?
There's no good explanation. Why are you going to spend so much money for a $5 million drill?
Okay.
More than 5 times the cost. And when you see something like that happening, you shudder to think what could really be going on at Cornwall. I said they have opening ceremony for Cornwall later this month. And I have concrete evidence that Cornwall cannot be open for another year. And when I say concrete evidence, I mean it's bare concrete that Cornwall. They don't have no plumbing, them not no fixtures, them not no pipe, nothing.
Wow.
They fix up one little admin room.
Yeah.
Pretty,
Yeah.
nice. epoxy flooring and all of that. Nice Chinese furniture and everything in there. Look
Why you gotta
luxurious.
say Chinese? Like,
No, man, because they look very luxurious now.
Okay,
It's almost
yeah.
Italian design made in China type things.
okay.
So it looks good, but then the rest of the building is just a concrete shell. There's no AC duct. It's just 6 months ago they start put up drywall and all those things in there. So it's like you have a guest house. You have your house and you're building it and it's block and steel. But then you fix up the guest bedroom and inviting people over to stay. It's madness.
Madness.
Speaking
Alright,
of
so,
madness now, this is the second topic.
Yeah.
About the chicken.
How
right?
much you think the healthcare system is going to suffer with these Perdix chicken?
Burn up,
So-
by the way. Well,
Again,
before
Be
you
mature.
answer now, before you
Be
answer that, I'm
mature.
obligated to play this. It's an obligation. Let's go. Yeah.
so the chicken.
Yeah.
All right.
Watch that show now, show, yeah.
What someone told me who works with the shipping company is it fell off, was that the Thursday or the Friday? And some of the people who down there, I have friends who eat the chicken, you know, and they say it was frozen
You
when
have
they took
friends
it
in
off.
Hellshire that ate the chicken.
Friends all both in Portmore who eat the chicken.
Wow.
And they say I'm just load the chicken because it's God provide. But
Man from the sea.
That would have
like,
been my
man.
follow-up question, like how much people tell you,
It's a-
expletives in regards to why they
So-
want.
Yeah,
why
give
you
me
should
chicken,
shut up
Dr. Dawes.
and make
Yeah,
them
give
eat
me
the
chicken.
say some of them some a bad mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some said they were sending some chicken for me. But
Oh,
the truth
no.
is that you really don't know the environment of, you know, even if it was frozen, there's still a chance when they were going in. You don't know what kind of who's stepping up with them foot, where them stepping and all of them things there. To get in there. It wasn't safely handled at all. So just looking at it and say it's frozen, that's like the 5-second rule. When ice drop on the ground, you blow it off quick.
That is true. That is scientific.
It's scientific.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
not a doctor, but I'm just telling you.
So wait, the bacteria just watch the food on the ground and
Yeah.
count to 5 before
Yeah,
they jump
yeah.
on it.
God bless you. I eat it. Yeah, it worked. I've never been
But
sick.
It's a known
we
science,
never-
known scientific fact.
Yeah, the evidence is
Yeah.
trust me, bro.
Yeah,
So
trust me, bro.
how much like what's the time frame are we looking at to see if it
They're gonna get sick. It would have started already.
So yeah, I see somebody
It look
comment and say them on the toilet.
Yeah, they're on the side. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that thing? Do you think there's gonna be a strain on the healthcare system
You
based
can't
off
take
this?
Jamaican people. Jamaican people just don't take nothing serious.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
They could really be on the toilet and it's a bad chicken cause it and them still typing and laughing.
Yeah.
But by now, usually the incubation period for the salmonella and a lot of these viruses and bacteria that would have been, it would have, I think we passed it already.
So we're out of the danger zone
So it looked like we're out of the danger zone.
now. So it's actual good chicken from God.
I am not going to say it's good chicken from God, but you know, sometimes it's good to be wrong, you know.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just worried that, boy, with all of this that was
Yeah.
going
Because
on,
it
you would say
kinda-
because our healthcare sector can't manage a
No,
bunch of
yeah.
diarrhea.
And it kind of bring along like a philosophical question, if you will, because how you balance, the seriousness of public health care versus the reality of, people hungry. The scarcity of food in
Youths
Jamaica
have to
and
eat.
people in need. Like how you balance that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I mean, it's...
People are going to eat what them get access to eat. I don't know how to eat.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to tell you, like going into homes, like what representational politics is that you just meet a wide cross section of Jamaicans and you understand that there are a lot of social determinants to health. Like a lady grabbed my hand and carried me into her house and said that she begging me money to help her fix her fridge. And I was like, and she should open a igloo and show me that the insulin for her mother was kept on bag ice because the fridge not working.
Wow.
So you have all of these stories, and then you have people who they tell you point blank, I have health fears. And I said, like, why you sugar out so much? Doc, I just rice me have to eat. You just have to stretch your thing because we have a lot of food insecurity.
Yeah.
And then the prices fluctuate a lot with the ground provisions and so on that we talk about. But what is stable is rice and flour. And if you're diabetic and you're hungry, it's rice and flour. And even when you talk about sugar tax and so on, you're going to tax bag juice. You can't do that. For some people, it's the poor nutrition foods are what most Jamaicans eat and can afford. Chicken back is one of the biggest commodities in Jamaica. Chicken back is the worst part of the chicken. It has the lowest protein content and it has the highest fat content.
Wow.
And that's why it's so cheap, because it's what's left after they cut out the prime cuts, the breasts and so on.
Yeah.
You know,
what's left.
so there's a lot of social determinants, and that is the difficult part of addressing healthcare in Jamaica. And I don't think anybody has the solutions. It's gonna take a coming together of minds from the community
Generational
level
shift.
and
Culture shift.
to do that.
Yeah.
True. Sir Dawes, we thank you for joining us, talking with us. I mean, you're now the official doctor for the fix. But I got ask you, like, that just the general, what do you think of the job that Dr. Tufton is doing as me style?
Like I said, I used to do some work with him in the past, and I thought that he had a decent vision. But I think that certain priorities have been misplaced. Like the general thing with this government is that they're focusing on big infrastructural developments. And I don't think he was listening when we were trying to communicate that people don't go to a hospital because it's a nice hospital building. They go to get diagnosed and treated. So you have to fix the service.
But you just mentioned the mold.
Eh?
Changing
that's
the
one.
infrastructure is
is
a
key.
It's a part of it.
Yeah.
But you can't have the service collapsing while you're doing that. The service, you're every day you have people coming. So you have to make sure that the diagnostics are up. You have to make sure the staffing is good. And you have to make sure that if you're going to fix infrastructure, make sure all the theaters are prioritized. You have to make sure all theaters are up and working. It's just now in the last, since election near, you see all of this rapid fixing of theaters. Bustamante went down, they're trying to fix it. KPH went down, they're trying to fix it. Anata Bay went down. Sentence Bates 2 down, Savad AC problem, and we're still having problems at Cornwall Regional. So it's a lot could have been done to impact the service delivery and accessibility of healthcare. And I think that's my biggest criticism. But do I think he's a decent person and he has overall Jamaicans at heart? I think so.
And I mean, we have to take into consideration too that these structural changes is not just within the last 5-10 years. It's a developmental issues that
a
we have to
developmental problem.
focus on and change. So it's going to be incremental. Sometimes it's big spurt, but it's incremental.
But through all of that, you have to make sure the service is there. People have to be getting the hernias cut, the fibroids sorted out. You have to make sure they get the medication to control the diabetes and the blood pressure. Otherwise, they're going to end up with kidney failure. And when you have kidney failure, you have to wait until somebody on dialysis is dead before you get a chance.
True, yeah.
So those are the things you have to focus on.
I had a cousin that died like last year, and it was just like when he was talking about the kidneys, like it was a lot of money. Like each week, him have to pay for it, and it depleted him. And then it's almost like people were waiting for him to go because they wanted his spot. It was scary. It's sad.
It's rough. I mean, I lost a classmate, one of my fellow doctors, good friend, and kidney failure.
Well,
So whether or not you have access, it's one of those complications. Is really bad, and it's best to not get them in the first place.
True.
So and it starts with making sure your sugar and pressure are under control, which is why you have to focus on getting that sorted out.
True.
Get that fire out first. Those little fires before they turn into a big fire.
Yeah. We can end there.
Dr. Dawes, tell the people them where them can follow you.
So
on socials.
I am on TikTok as the Dr. Dawes, and I am on Instagram as Dr_Al_Dawes.
Then about the city I run for, by the way. Waterford within that.
St. Catherine East.
Southeast.
St. Catherine.
So it's from back road. I don't like calling it back road, but everybody would identify.
Serves a purpose.
Port Henderson, Waterford and Westchester, part of Independence City, Bridgeport, and Edgewater. Edgewater proper, you have like Passage Fort, Portsmouth, all of those places there. So
Feeling confident. You know when election are called, what you feel that call?
I didn't just need to call it right now because.
Call it and you call it.
But yeah, I'm confident. I'm not taking it for granted, but we are doing well. And a lot of the problems that we had initially, we are overcoming them, and the unity is there now.
Okay.
All right, people. Dr. Alfred Dawes.
Yep.
How to fix it with that, I know.